Hi, it's TK with the weekly words of encouragement. We're nearing the end of our Fruit of the Spirit series, but we're not quite done yet. We still have gentleness and self-control to discuss. For this installment, let's consider gentleness. What comes to mind when you hear the word gentle or gentleness? Do you picture a person? And if so, what traits does this person have? Do you associate gentleness with strength or weakness, with pride or humility? In our society, gentleness isn't always valued as a positive trait. Too often, gentleness is seen as a weakness, a trait that makes you vulnerable to attack or conquest. But one Bible dictionary defines gentleness as founded on strength and prompted by love. Contrary to how our society views gentleness, the Bible sees gentleness as a reflection of strength and love. Wow. I find it incredibly powerful to examine gentleness from this vantage point. Being gentle doesn't mean you are weak or powerless. Rather, being gentle means you are strong and loving. Amazing. We see references to gentleness throughout the Bible. For example, in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 12, God spoke to the prophet Elijah in a gentle whisper, rather than in a windstorm, earthquake, or fire. Elijah's experience reminds us the loudest response may not actually be the best response. Sometimes gentleness is much more effective. My study Bible encourages us that God doesn't reveal himself only in powerful, miraculous ways. He is often found gently whispering in the quietness of a humble heart. And Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1 exhorts, "A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare." And verse 4 of the same chapter states, "Gentle words are a tree of life. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit." In the midst of an argument, you can use gentle words and tone, and your gentleness is likely to be much more effective than yelling or being sarcastic. Something to ponder. And as Proverbs chapter 15 verse 4 told us, our gentle words can bring life to others, which is confirmed by Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21, which tells us the tongue can bring life or death. Who can you speak gentle words to this week? Who can you bring life to with your gentleness? I love how my study Bible addresses gentleness. Have you ever tried to argue in a whisper? It is equally hard to argue with someone who insists on answering gently. On the other hand, a raised voice and harsh words almost always trigger an angry response. Even in the midst of tense situations, we can choose gentleness. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul encourages the believers at Colossae to clothe themselves with gentleness, among other traits. And to the believers in Ephesus, he says, "Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love." And Jesus described himself as gentle, as recorded in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." And we see Jesus' gentleness in action in the story of the woman caught in adultery. Side note, I find it interesting how the religious leaders did not bring the man along as well, since he would also be subject to punishment according to the Mosaic law. To me, this clear omission of both guilty parties reveals the religious leaders' ulterior motive, which was to trap Jesus. Anyway, John chapter 8, verses 1 through 11 record, "Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him, but Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." In response to this woman's sin of adultery, the sinless Jesus didn't pick up a stone to hurl at the sinful woman. He didn't condemn her. Instead, he gently acknowledged her sin, reminded her not to sin anymore, and gave her a second chance at life. And Jesus expressed strength in his response to the deceitful and malicious religious leaders. He didn't attack them or ridicule them. And his response to the woman was prompted by love. He loved her enough not to let her stay in sin, but he didn't condemn her to death. Jesus is an example of how we can express gentleness. Let's follow his example as we allow the Holy Spirit to produce the fruit of gentleness in our lives. I pray you have a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.